Okay, everyone, this is Kerry Garrison with Vitelity, and I'm going to go over our API and what you can do with it, and hopefully you'll get something out of this, and we'll be able to, help you make the most out of what you do here with the services at Vitelity. So the poll was really interesting. I appreciated everyone taking time to answer the poll so we could figure out how best to approach today and talk about what we're doing, what other people are doing, and show some different things that we can do using the API. If you have questions, feel free to put them in the chat box. If I can get to them right then, I'll get to them. Otherwise, I may save some of them for the end, so don't think I'm ignoring you. So let's just kind of get rolling here. As I said, my name is Kerry Garrison. I'm the VP of Strategic Initiatives here. So I'm always looking for ways to help our resellers and customers to do stuff. This is being recorded, and there will be a link on our website. It usually takes a couple hours to render it, process it, do some editing, and get it all back online for everyone. So
entry and exit chimes are off.
So it will be available later on for viewing. This is part of our what we're calling Vitelity 101, an ongoing series of webinars on different ways for you to utilize the services and products that we have here. You can find other examples of the webinars on our YouTube channel, as well as in our blog at vitelity.com/blog. So again, we're trying to do these every month, and every month bring you something different to help you utilize Vitelity and take advantage of what we have to offer. So let's get started with the API. We have it broken down into a couple different, 9 different categories of things that you can do: billing, E911, telecommunications, DID inventory, faxing, routing and network, DID ordering, LNP, which is our number porting, and the SMS services. Mike, I'll answer that question later on if you remind me at the end. So with this API, what we're trying to do was basically replicate all of the functionality of the portal within the API so that you can do everything. Okay, just for the sake of the chat, everybody's password was reset. So just so you know, we reset everybody's just out of a safety precaution. So this is the overview of the API, the different categories of things that we have. There is no setup fees for wholesale accounts to utilize the API. And for retail accounts, there's a $99 setup just to get things going. There's permissions that we set, instructions that we send, all kinds of stuff to get things up and running. But then there are no additional costs to use the API functionality. It's whatever services you're using are then just the same cost as you would get doing anything else. And right now, there's over 90 different API functions. Now, if you're not familiar with what an API is, it stands for Application Programming Interface. So what this really means is your applications can do web calls into our platform to do things like find what phone numbers are available in different area codes, to set up accounts, to order DIDs, send and receive faxes, send and receive text messages. So your applications do this under the hood by using web calls to, it's basically like calling a web page that has no interface. So things that you can do in the portal, you can do programmatically through your applications or your websites. And we're going to look at some different examples of how this works and some easy ones that you can use to get started if you're not really a programmer, but you can then take your ideas to a programmer and have them implement some of this stuff. So why use the API? Well, it allows you to add specialized functionality into your own website or applications A good example of your website would be a simple click to dial for customer or for sales, right? You go onto a website, you're like, hey, I want to contact someone in sales. It says put in your phone number, and then on the back end, we place a call to both sides and connect them together. So you can do a real easy click to dial widget homepage. That was kind of that funny video I did at the beginning. You can automate ordering and billing functions. If you are a very heavy user of our services and you need to automate some of the ordering, billing, CDR functionalities or things, you can automate all of this stuff through the API. And you can also create custom applications and services. So I'm not going to get into that because we're going to do a lot of, we're going to show some examples of that. Question is, can a non-wholesale account be moved to wholesale? The answer is yes. Contact your account manager or anyone in sales and they can help you out moving you around. Very often people start off as a non-wholesale account and move up to wholesale as their business grows. So thanks. So some example applications of things that you can create. Click to call from the website, I explained that one. How about a doctor's office appointment reminder, where the night before it sends text messages to everyone who has an appointment the next day saying, don't forget, you have an appointment with Dr. Smith tomorrow. If you need to cancel or reschedule, please call our office, or please reply. So you can automate some of these tasks to make sure people remember that they have an appointment the next day. This will make a doctor's office money because it will decrease their no-shows. Restaurant table availability notifications. I'm actually starting to see this more and more when I go to a restaurant. Instead of them handing me a pager that will tell me when the table's available, they ask for my cell phone number so that they can send me a text message. This eliminates the cost of them having to buy one of those paging systems. You know what else it does? It gives them my phone number so they can market to me later on. They can send me specials and things. You can integrate fax functions into your own apps. In fact, with the API functions for the fax, you can create an entirely standalone fax application. It has everything you need to send, receive, delete, manage the faxes through the API. SMS shortcode applications, emergency SMS notifications. We're seeing a lot of this type of use. School closures, lockdowns, weather alerts to employees, all kinds of things like that we're seeing with emergency SMS notifications. Garfield's asking, does Vitelity provide programming for the API? We do not have a team of programmers here that are available to help provide those services. We have people, we have customers and vendors out there who have done integration for people so that they've been able to, we've been able to do some referrals over to other people. So if you need some help with some programming, let us know, contact your account manager, and they can try and help set you up with a programmer who might be able to help you out. Karen, what is the true market for these apps, though really, as web apps, Facebook, etc., email specialized apps replace SMS? Well, that's a good question. The true market, in fact, what we're seeing is a huge growth in SMS. That is probably the single biggest piece that we've seen. As a school, as a business, you're not going to be sending notifications out through SMS for doctor's appointments. You want that direct reply to people. So you can do you're going to be doing things that Facebook and other things aren't doing because you have that direct contact with the customer. Any of you that, I've seen a handful of people in here that saying that they can help with programming. Email Scott at Vitelity.com, and he'll be glad to put people on the API development referral list and get people connected with each other to do some different things. So always give Scott a call or your account manager, and we're trying to hook people up. So we have people in the chat that are saying that they're programmers, and we have people who are saying they need programmers. So we'll see what we can do to start hooking people up. Great idea, Larry, setting up a bulletin board or something so users can interact. I think we'll talk about that later on internally and see what we can do about that. Okay, how does the API work? Let's kind of keep moving here before Larry takes up all the chat time over there. Vitelity needs a wiki. Yeah, well, we have one, but we'll work on that. So you can send the commands via HTTPS or HTTP, and you receive responses back via text response or XML, and we'll look at this a little bit later. If you want to follow along, go ahead and open a web browser to apihelp.vitelity.net, and you can see the entire list of API commands. It shows examples, it shows the responses that you get. So that is the documentation for the API as we have it today. And we'll go through and take a look at some of the things here. So here's a very simple application, click to call, kind of what I mentioned earlier. You see I've added this to the bottom left-hand corner of this web page. Enter your phone number to be connected directly to an agent. This is what it looks like blown up here. So a user would type in their phone number and then click the little telephone icon there, and it then tells our system, I need to connect these two phone numbers together. So it calls into the sales, and it calls the person who just entered their phone number and connects them together. So how does this work? Well, first, on that web page, we created the form, which does a call to API click-to-call.php. Don't get ahead of me here. It's going to call a script that we're going to write here in just a moment. And it's going to submit the text of phone number. So it's going to send that phone number to this PHP page. This is the PHP of that PHP script that we just looked at. So it has the login and the password from the API, the number that's going to receive the phone call, and then it's going to grab that phone number from that form and then do this big long command string with all the login, the password, the command to use, the number, the service number, and to respond back with XML so we can make sure that it all worked properly. And then at the end, it's going to redirect the user. So it's actually a fairly simple command. Mark, yes, I just mentioned that on a previous slide. These can be HTTPS or HTTP. So generally, you're going to want to do this as HTTPS unless for some reason you can't go outbound over HTTPS, but generally you're going to want to use secure for these. Can we get copies of these slides and scripts? Well, a video of this entire webinar will be posted later today as soon as it's done rendering and things. So you'll be able to watch this again. If you need examples, I can give you examples. We do have some of these examples in our blog. If you go back a couple months, you can find some examples that I've done. But I'm very happy to send these out. We can send this whole PowerPoint to somebody if they want it. So if rewatching this video later doesn't help, contact Scott or your account manager, and they'll send you out the PowerPoint deck that we're using today. Because this is a good example of kind of where to get started with this, and most everything is going to work the same way, especially if you're doing PHP. If you Ruby or Perl or something else, it's going to be similar. You just kind of have to know the nuances of the syntax a little different. We do have some people that are working on some different wrappers for the API to make programming even easier, but that's kind of getting ahead of where we're going. Today I'm just trying to show you kind of what you can do with the API and give you some kickstarts like this click-to-call application. Let's see, let's move on here. Did I cover that? Okay, that's the click-to-call app. This is an actual customer out here that basically sells phone numbers that you can throw away very quickly that you know, if you're putting, say you're putting an ad on Craigslist and you don't want to give out your cell phone number, so you go to Tossable Digits, grab a phone number from them, and then have that forwarded to your cell phone or your home phone. That way you're never giving out your cell phone number in a Craigslist ad. Or, you know, if you go to bars a lot, you know, let's not get into that. But, you know, you can see kind of the application of what you could do. So Tossable Digits is using our API calls to order these services. So the first thing they do is ask the user what region they're in. Hey, Eric, okay, that's your technique? All right, whatever works for you, my friend. So you choose the state, and then their website makes an API call to our system to find out what area codes are available in that state. And it goes on using, you know, page by page using our API to where it actually orders a DID for that person and gets it all set up and sets up the forwarding. So this is a really good example of how someone has integrated our DID inventory and our ordering into a fully automated system that's out there. So Mike is saying, yeah, he did the same thing for potential customers to find DIDs in their area to reserve. Absolutely. So using this as an example, this is just one example of many customers who have integrated DID ordering into their own web page. So it's fairly simple to do. It takes a little programming, but it's something that can be done fairly easily. Now, in order to set up the API, you need to go into your Vitelity portal and under My Account tab at the top, and then under the secondary tab, you go to Remote API, and you need to add the IP addresses for your machines that will be connecting to us. That way we have IP authentication to make sure that no one's trying to spoof your account. We do lock it to the IP, and a secondary authentication is going to be a login and password for those API calls. So there's two levels of security, well, you know, three potential layers of security. First, you have HTTPS, so it's encrypted. You have IP address lockdown, and everything requires a login and password. So we try and make the API as secure as possible to keep any fraud from happening. Getting a little ahead of myself there. So by covering all these different bases and looking at how we can use the API to integrate our functionality into things that you can use on the back end, hopefully you're starting to see some of the different things that you can do to automate, to make things easier to create applications. Now, does anyone have any questions on other things that you might want to do or some clarifications? Because I can walk through a little bit of some other examples if you'd like to kind of help clarify it or answer any questions. Myself, I've been able to do things with the SMS service. I think we've got some examples in our blog for that if you're looking to do that type of stuff. Let's see, Garfield. Once API is developed, how do you change pricing for products? Well, ours doesn't, we don't change pricing on our side, but if you're able to automate some of your things, you may be able to change the pricing from your side. So anything that you're doing, ordering DIDs, doing billing, you know, anything that you're doing through the API versus doing it in the portal, the prices are the same. So there's no price differences. You see automating billing end users as a challenge. Well, certainly, Mark, that is a challenge, but what typically happens as you move from being a smaller reseller into being a wholesaler is you purchase some bigger billing platform, and then you're able to pull down the CDRs from us and integrate that into your billing. Now, I don't have any direct experience with doing that. We have customers that are doing that. And Scott, I think you've got some Scott's our VP of Sales and Marketing. He has some people that have done some of this, so he might be able to chime in with some tools that people have used to be able to automate that billing. Tom, if your portal doesn't have remote API tab, then you need to contact your account manager and have that enabled. If you're wholesale, it should be automatic, but you do have to often ask for it because it's not something we just open up blindly to everybody. Okay, Robert, let me make sure I'm getting these questions right. Is it possible to pull just fax CDR for billing purposes? Robert, I'm going to have to get back to you on that one just to double check. I think the answer is yes, but I'll have to double check on that. If you can send me a message or an email for me to follow up on that, I'll be happy to look into that some more for you and see if I can get you a better answer on that. Let's see. Greg, you mentioned the doctor appointment notification. How does that work? Okay, there's a couple different ways that you can do the doctor appointment notification system. One way that some people are using it is they have a system, they have a system on their side that's integrated into their appointment calendar. So every night it pulls like a CSV file of the appointments for the following day. And then it pipes that one at a time through our system to send messages to the patients. So by using, in fact, by using the send short for part of the short code messaging, the send short API call, they send a message to that phone number with a specific message, often customized with that person's name or the time that their appointment is, so that the person is reminded of it. There's some other ways that it works because our SMS platform also has the ability to send out notifications from an email. So you could, if you're having difficulty setting up your system to do the API calls, but it can do outbound emails, then you can email us with the information, and then that goes out as an SMS. So there's some nuances in how that works. If you go back a couple webinars ago, we did talk about more of this in the SMS webinar and how to send SMS messages from our system via email. Let's see. Do you have to download stuff onto our website? No, we don't do anything on your website. If you're adding some code to your site to do like the click to dial, that's some simple code that someone would write or copy some of our examples to get access to. Stefan, real-time CDR access. Real-time, the answer is no still. However, we are in the midst of a project that will enable pretty much real-time CDRs. It's a huge database project, and our results so far are simply amazing. So it's going to be very cool to see how that already works. And when we roll that out, it's going to be very impressive. Let's see. Akshay, I hope I didn't butcher that too much. Example code for pulling incoming faxes. Let me see here. Fax. Let me see if I can share my screen properly here. Share. Okay, are you seeing the API commands on the screen now? Okay, so if we look at the API commands, we have get fax. So it retrieves a specific fax from the system. Well, you have to know which fax it is. So you first call list incoming faxes, which will return a list of the faxes that are waiting to be read. You're not seeing the screen. Are you seeing the screen now? Okay. Okay. Great. So first we go to list incoming faxes, and we do this call, and you'll see we can either get back a standard output or XML output, and it will show a fax ID, the date, or the timestamp, the phone number that called in, the destination number, and a status. So now we can take these fax IDs and use the get fax command to retrieve that specific fax number, and what we'll get back is a PDF file. So it's not that difficult to pull that down. So we can also do as a base64 encoded instead of a web download request. So we have two different ways of retrieving that data. So getting faxes, we also have a new one. Oh, I don't think it's been added to the documentation. It's brand new. We also have a delete fax command, so you can send faxes, get faxes, delete faxes. You can do pretty much anything that you can do with our fax ability from the API. So as I said, you can actually create an entire fax application using the API commands. Let me try and find. Yeah, Mark, if you're already a wholesaler, just contact Scott N at Vitelity.com, and he'll make sure your API stuff is turned on. Jacob, can we route E911 traffic via the API even if the number is not a Vitelity-owned DID? I believe the answer is no on that today. Mark says he's integrated billing. So if you have questions, talk to Mark. He's done billing before. Tom, your portal doesn't have the remote API tab. Again, contact your account manager or Scott so they can turn that on for you. Eric, we integrate Vitelity API calls with our billing system to do lots of neat reports. Very cool. I'd like to see some of that sometime if you have some examples of that. Yep, Eric, SmartVox. Have the same problem with prefix. Yeah, let me try to go through all the questions here. Is there a way to get DIDs that are in sequence through the API? Ooh, that's a good question. I do not believe that there's a way to get a sequence of numbers. It's sometimes we have sequences, sometimes we don't. So it'd be interesting to put that as a request and to see if there's something we could do where if you said I need, a continuous sequence of 50 numbers, that we could return, different lists in some way. That'd be something for us to look into. Is there a limit to the number of DIDs returned per request? No, I don't think there is. It's kind of self-limiting because you're going to narrow it down to the rate center. So you're probably never going to get more than a few hundred at any one time. Is there any way to get SMS received on DID? Well, yeah. I mean, our SMS works with our DIDs, so that's one of our common things that we do. It's based on a jobber server or XMPP. depending on which one you know about. So you can connect to our SMS platform with any IM client to get the SMS messages from your DID, or you can do them via the API. So it's not locked to one or the other. You can do either one. So our SMS platform is very flexible that way. If you go back a couple webinars to our SMS one, we talked all about the different things you can do with our SMS. Oh, Scott says 911 is possible on non-Vitelity DIDs. My bad. I'm going through the list of questions here. Jacob, you're looking for programmers. Again, talk to Scott. He's going to be trying to tie developers and customers together so we can help match people up for that. All right, I think I managed to get all the questions answered here. Scott's info is scottn@vitelity.com. So let me get back over here. So, guys, I really appreciate you coming on and trying to learn about the API calls that we have. If you have feature requests like Eric just sent one, make the list local API call search via regex. Good suggestion there. I'm actually going to write that one down. If you have suggestions for things that you want in the API, don't hesitate to call us. We have an internal engineering request process. We go through those every week, and we try and hit things up. We get things on the roadmap. So we always try and make sure that feature requests are taken into account so that we can monitor them. And that's how a lot of our new features come, is from customers requesting things. So always be sure and tell your account manager when you've got a suggestion of something that you'd like to see. And if it's something that we can do quickly, we'll try and get it done right away. Otherwise, we'll try and get it in the queue and get it taken care of for you. Is there a way to customize the message delivered to the caller prior to completing the call to the called party? Larry, I guess you're referring to the click-to-call API function, and today there is no way to customize that. You could do it other ways, manually, using the other API calls to set up different calls. We did the click-to-call just to really make it simple to do that. I'm not a big fan right now of the messaging that's in there, but it's something we're going to look at if there's any demand for it. Deepak, is it possible to look up a DID to see if it's available? Let's see. I don't think you can send us a phone number for us to see if it's available, but that is a great feature request. So I'll look into that one. Brandon, how about MMS? MMS is coming. I wish I had a timeline on that. I don't right now, but it's a matter of how we connect to the different SMS gateways. But I was just told a few days ago that a solution is on the horizon to do MMS as well as SMS. Brian, when is the sale on the retail fee of $99? Contact Scott. Scott can take care of the fees and get you set up with the API stuff. He handles all of that. IP labels on the CDR request form would be nice. Interesting. So, what I'm going to do in here, because we're getting quite a few feature requests here, I'm putting in my email address. So if you have any of the feature requests that you guys are asking for right now, send me an email. Don't hesitate to send me an email about any of the things that you're asking for in here. If they're engineering requests, I manage that process, so we'll see what we can do about getting them in there. If there's features that you want in the portal, be sure and let us know, and we'll get them on the list in there. Same with vanity numbers. There's a lot of things that are still left to add to the API that's available right now through the portal. Our goal over the next few months to 6 months, depending on how long it takes, is that everything you can do in the portal, you'll be able to do through the API. Right now, I'd say we're probably 80% there, 85% there, and we still have a little ways to go. But eventually, within the next 6 months, hopefully, every single thing that you can do through the portal, you'll be able to do from the API. That's really our goal. So, love some of these suggestions. Is there a way to get VFAX DIDs incorporated with my DID report? Mark, the only way we have that today is if you use our invoice system, because in the invoice system you can select a sub-account and a VFAX DID to add to a single report. We don't have that integrated into the API reports yet. Corey, I'll get to that in just a moment. Daniel saying, as a .NET developer, the biggest challenge has been getting adequate support for the API, especially the LNP system. Seems to be a gap between support and development. Daniel, I'm not going to disagree with that. The support guys are not development guys. I mean, we are in the same building. We try very hard to collaborate on different things, let everyone know what's going on. They will send tickets over to us if they have issues or that there's things that are being trying to find. So, if there's a problem, let me know, and we'll see what we can do. I do want to add some more debugging things to the API to make it easier to figure things out. The LNP stuff is brand new, so if there's issues with how that works, let me know, and we can maybe add some better responses to it to make sure that you're getting the information back from what you want to see. Larry, if functionality similar to yeah, you're right, Larry. I could have sworn there was, placing a call. Oh no, it's just call from click. Yeah, you know what? I think you're right. I think I'm confusing my to-do list with the actual finished ones. But we do have if you go on the API help to call from click, we have that function, but I think I made the mistake of assuming that the other ones were done so that you place multiple calls and tie them together. It doesn't look like we've actually put that in there yet. So it's going to be on my list of things to make sure I get added. Mark is asking, is XML recommended over text responses? That's entirely up to you. Depends on your application, depends on your programming style. Personally, I prefer the XML responses because doing PHP development, there are some really good libraries for parsing PHP, so to me it's a little easier to work with. If you're doing .NET or C or something else, it might be easier to the plain text request. So I think it's really dependent on your programming style. So I don't think there's reason to change it if you're using plain text versus XML. I think really the XML is just for the people who have access to those libraries, and it makes it very easy to parse those into key pairs. So I really don't see that it's recommended to change. It's really a personal preference. I'm glad we have both because it just makes it easier for everybody. We are doing, again, we do a webinar every month. This, I believe, is our third one. The other ones are in our YouTube channel. They're listed in our blog, so you can go back and find the previous ones. Next month, we're going to talk about PBX hosting and co-location options. We do have quite a few different options for PBX hosting and co-location. You may not be aware of everything that we can do. We also are building a brand new data center. It's right down the street from where we're at, but it's huge. I mean, it's a monstrous new data center, which is just going to be for PBX hosting and co-location options, because this side of the business has been picking up substantially over the last 6 months or so. So, Ashley, can you do a PBX at AWS? I mean, people do. There's nothing wrong with that per se. However, the reason why PBX hosting and co-location is very popular to do directly with us is it's one less link in the chain, right? So if your PBX is sitting in the same data center as your SIP trunk, there's one less loop in there. If your phone calls are going from your office to Amazon, and then from Amazon to Vitelity, you're adding latency, you're adding jitter, you're adding packet delays, you're adding complication to that design. If your PBX is hosted in a Vitelity data center, your calls from your office come to your PBX, which is in the same building as your SIP trunk. So you eliminate a whole set of issues in latency, packet loss, jitter, all that stuff between the PBX and your SIP provider goes away because they're in the same building. So we do have very, very robust data center here. We have redundant cooling. We have redundant generators. We have redundant networking. It's a really, really good platform that we have here that is really overbuilt. And the new data center that we're building even blows away the one that we have now. So we have a lot of things coming on the hosting side. What about latency from the northeast to the western sites? Well, fortunately, our data center is located in Denver, Colorado, which is about as central in the U.S. as you can get and still have access to core networking and the fiber cores that are here. So we have direct connections within our facility to companies like XO, Level 3, and the other big carriers out there. So we try to minimize latency by having our data center right in, in fact, XO is in the same parking lot as us. Level 3 is right here. Comcast is right here. So this particular area of Colorado, all the major carriers have big pops here, so it allows us to integrate with them. And then we also have connectivity in like One Wilshire in LA and May East, and we're adding connectivity in other places to make sure that we have the best peering with everyone else out there. And as Scott says, we are VoIP experts, right? Our network is VoIP optimized. Robert, what happened last Friday with all that redundancy? Well, it mostly worked. We had 2 air conditioners. One of them went down. We have backup temporary air conditioners. We have temporary ones that were brought in. We had 1 cabinet of equipment that overheated, and it was a pretty minimal issue overall. So we're very fortunate that we had this stuff here in place so that we minimized any downtime for people. It was very, very few people that were actually affected by that. Doesn't cover partial wide area internet losses. Well, you know, anytime that you're using VoIP, you are susceptible to internet problems. If you have routing issues between yourself and your PBX, or your PBX and your SIP provider, the internet is the weak spot in the whole process. And there isn't a whole lot you can do to avoid that sometimes. So you make sure that you go with the right carriers, the right platforms, hopefully have backup systems so that you can go in different directions and still get to us. So while, you know, everything is best effort, we do try the best we possibly can to make sure that we have the connectivity out there so that we minimize problems for customers, so that we can reroute things, and hopefully it can be the same thing on the other side. Search AWS failure in Google, yeah. You know, as Bill's saying, you know, we had a very small, I mean, I don't think we ever actually had a total outage. It was maybe less than 10% of customers who had any issues at all. And, you know, we do the best we can. We got things back up. We had to reroute some things because we had a cabinet that was overheating, which caused the power to spike. I mean, it was an ongoing thing. If you want to talk about it, we can certainly talk about it some more, but it's not really something that, you know, is crucial to this particular conversation. Unfortunately, Mark, this system does not save the chat transcript. If you were interested in getting back to Scott about hooking up with the developer or getting on our developer list, then contact Scott, scottn@vitelity.com. I put my email in there. I'm going to put it in here again. My email address is kgarrison@vitelity.com. And we're here to help you out as best we can, help you to take advantages of our products and services, and make sure that you have all the tools that you need to be as successful as possible. Because we're here to make you guys successful. So anything that we can do, please let us know. So thanks for coming. We'll catch you next month. And in the meantime, if you have questions on the API or you have feature requests, send them over to us. We'd be happy to talk to them. So thank you very much. Oh, hold on one second. Let me stop the recording here.